there, Lisa here. Welcome back to my channel, or welcome if this is your first time stopping by. Listen, strap in, strap up, get a snack, maybe get in some comfy clothes, cancel your plans for the day, because we're going to be here for like a while. Today we are going to be talking about solo role-playing games or solo games in general, because I went down the rabbit hole and I've been promising this video for a bit. We're going to talk about one that is currently funding on Kickstarter, and then a whole bunch that I have purchased and or backed myself on Kickstarter. I'm going to talk about a game I've completed, the game I'm currently playing, and a bunch of other games that I have acquired and I'm excited to play. So yeah, that's what we're doing today. Yes, some of these games use tarot, but if you're only here for tarot deck talk, well, you may be disappointed because we're going to be talking about all games and stuff. But anyways, hello if you're new here. I'm going to throw a graphic up so you can check out my other work if you are so inclined. I have my diet root beer and a alarmingly big stack of things to talk about. So I guess we're just gonna jump in. All right, so let's start off talking about Koriko. Koriko is a solo role-playing game where you are playing as a witch who is coming of age, leaving her hometown, setting off for adventure and to sort of find her way in the world, and as a witch, to kind of come into her own powers and discover life. Now this requires, I think, quite a bit of journaling and quite a bit of creativity, but it was a lot of fun. This game has a cozy vibe, very Studio Ghibli, and it does use tarot and sort of deck building mechanics. If you know what that is, it's like sort of arranging your deck in a particular order, creating smaller decks that you kind of play from. And the basic premise is that your major arcana cards become characters in your story when you encounter them. And once you encounter a major arcana character, they become a part of your sort of circle and they get shuffled back into each deck that you work with each time in different configurations. And so you get to sort of build relationships with some of the characters you meet. For example, I built a relationship with the Hanged Man, the Magician, or excuse me, the Hierophant, the Magician, the World, and I had a couple of other sort of smaller interactions with other characters as well. You use the minor arcana cards in different configurations to move through daily prompts. And you have some randomness because the card you choose sort of determines a prompt you're going to play with on that given day. And then you also have a table of prompts in every season that you sort of play from. And then these prompts combine with your card draw to create a bit of an inspiration for what happened to your character on that given day. I want to try to keep this description short and tell you that I played this whole game through. I used the Everyday Witch Tarot Mini, which was so cute and aesthetic for this. And you use a mechanic called dice stacking to sort of mimic the idea of risk. So when your character is new and doesn't have a lot of skills, you will find yourself stacking these dice. You stack dice anytime you do a risky move. And when your character isn't very experienced, you have to stack 3 dice every time you do a risky move. And so in the first couple of seasons that you play into this game, you regularly will get these tall stacks, and there's a much higher chance that they will knock over when you're stacking them. And you build them sort of throughout the season. So if your dice tower falls, you have a consequence and your witch learns a valuable lesson, but usually has something kind of negative happen. But it's never bad. Like, it's always something that's like a growing experience or a learning experience. And by the end, you have this character who's had this wide variety of experiences, and you know what those experiences are because you've journaled your way through the whole time. The basic sort of play flow of this game, and I'll show you what my journal looks like, is the first bit you create your character, and then you basically get into a cadence of writing about 7 diary entries, followed by a letter home to a mentor that you have sort of picked at the beginning of the game. And so my entries always began with Dear Diary and ended with, well, that's all for now, I guess. And my letters home always began Dear Marigold, because that was my mentor, and ended with Love, Mirabelle, and Bert, because my character's name was Mirabelle, and her little familiar was a hedgehog named Bert. Now, as you play through each volume, you find that the prompts become increasingly, they start to build on one another, and you start to understand what might happen to your character in a given experience. As you develop relationships, like, for example, my character had a bit of a crush on this character, Devin, who was the magician, and so that was a bit of a love interest. She also had another character that was kind of like a person much older than her who was sort of a mentor and friend in the city that she found herself in. But what I did, because I found sometimes the creativity got a little challenging, is I would use the prompt from the card I drew. And so, for example, an example of a prompt, let's say you draw the 2 Two of Swords. The prompt says here, you overhear an argument between two strong personalities. What are they fighting about? They draw you in seeking an arbitrator. Do you offer a verdict? Either way, who do you feel is right? And then it'll give you some cues that maybe get you started. Local government, rival schools, moral principles, fashion rules. And so you have that prompt to go off of. And then every season you also have this sort of grid that kind of operates a little like a bingo card, where you pick an item, a prompt off of here. Some of these prompts are risky and would involve dice stacking. Some are not risky. And you combine a prompt from this table with the prompt you drew, and you tell a bit of a story for what you experienced that day or that week or whatever. And you do that 7 times, and at the end of that season, you write a letter home, and you kind of update your mentor. And it's pretty great, actually. But what I did is I found that the prompts were good, but I wanted even more inspiration. So I used my little sticker journal to sort of flip through. So I would pick my prompts, I would write them up top. So here I had the 3 of Swords, and I chose from the grid a prompt called Sleepless Night. And this was a risky prompt, so I made note it was risky. And then I went through my stickers and just looked for a sticker that felt like it would match up with what was happening in this particular prompt. And the stickers would sort of give me further ideas. So like this one, I had a little vampire sticker, so that became a part of my story. In this one, the little frog or the rain or something was a part of my story. Here, this girl was a character in the story. And so it just kind of gave me something more to go off of to kind of flesh out a story more. Plus it made for a really fun little journal page by the time I was done. So my cadence would kind of be draw my card, pick my prompt, and then pick my prompt off of here, combine the 2, then pick some stickers, put them on the page, and then just start writing and see what I could come up with. And it was really fun. And you play through an entire year, and then at the end, you sort of like wrap up your experience in the city where you were and decide some things about what your future is going to look like. And that is your game. It's very cozy, it's very low stakes, and it's really fun to pull in the tarot. And you can, of course, based on the card you pull and the art on that card, that can also become a part of the story. I didn't do that as much in this case because I felt like it pulled me out of this world to be too much in the Everyday Witch tarot world, if that makes sense. But had I had a deck that felt more like this world at the time, it may have changed that. I might have actually pulled more of it in. So you can really kind of let your creativity drive the story. And that's sort of the punchline of a game like Koriko. But this is what I think is sort of a classic solo role-playing game where you imagine yourself as somebody else. You create this character, you sort of create their starting point, and then you experience a bunch of stuff as that character, and you write about your experiences as you go. And that is kind of the rough base formula of a journaling game. The thing like the dice stacking, or whether you involve tarot or playing cards or dice, a lot of those things are the variables between solo role-playing games that involve journaling, solo journaling role-playing games. But the common thread is that you are making note of your experience, you're sort of jumping into or kind of pretending you're something else, somebody else, and making decisions that that character would make, which is kind of the essence of role-playing. And it's the same thing you do in a game like Dungeons and Dragons or any other role-playing game out there. And I find it to be just a very relaxing way to spend your time, to sort of put yourself in somebody else for a while. I discovered that playing Baldur's Gate 3 with Don Michelle, and we role play our characters in that game. And it's such a lovely escape to just get into somebody else for a while. And I find it really immersive and cozy. Koriko is one of those games that really transports you to this world. And the first few entries, it took me a minute to get my legs under me. And then the more that I journaled, the more I really felt like I was writing as my character Mirabelle and experiencing life kind of through her eyes. And that's such a cool experience, but it does take sometimes a little bit of practice before you kind of hit your stride. And I would say I hit my stride with Mirabelle around late summer in these like seasonal volumes. But then once I hit it, I was good. And I cruised through the like last 2/3 of the game. So I probably spent a lot of time agonizing and trying too hard in the first third. And then in the end, I was just having fun and letting it roll. And I think one of the things I learned from playing this game is that the point of solo role-playing games is to have fun. And sometimes we can get very hung up on the mechanics or the rules of a game. And I think this game taught me that it's okay to just like let your imagination have its little playtime. And it's okay if it doesn't perfectly align with the prompt or perfectly align with the rules, as long as you're having a nice time. So, and I've seen that again and again in posts in solo gaming communities. They're just like let yourself have fun. Like, don't take it so serious. Like it's all good. But I really enjoyed this game. I don't know if I'd play it again. It was a little bit slow paced and a little bit almost too cozy for me. I think there wasn't like as much sort of external action in the game as I wanted, but it is really fun. It is really cozy, and it was sort of my gateway into this whole world. So it does deserve a little special props. It deserves props for that is what I'm trying to say. Really, really fun. This was the first one I played all the way through. I have played a couple of other games, but they're sort of midway in, and I want to restart them now that I better understand sort of how these gaming systems work. But a couple of games that I have partway played digitally. Both of these next games I actually played digitally, but have since purchased physical copies. So I actually have copies of these on my iPad, and that's where I played them. This one is called Apothecaria, and in this game, it literally says it's a game about tiny animals going on massive adventures. I purchased a physical copy of this book because it is absolutely adorable. I love it on my iPad. And you should know that when you buy a solo role-playing game or a solo game like this style, this is another journaling game. When you buy a solo game, you almost always will get a downloadable version of it as well. But if you buy the download, you don't get a free physical. So I have since learned that I like to have physical copies, and they also come with digital. So if I prefer to play digital, I can still do that, but I like having the best of both worlds. So most of my solo games I do have now in both physical and digital. But anyways, in this game, you're playing as a little animal, sort of anthropomorphized kind of animal who is in a guild of healers called Poultice Pounders. And the Poultice Pounders Guild are characters that go around and they help other characters with their ailments. So you travel around, you collect what are called reagents or regents. I don't know how you're supposed to pronounce that. You acquire herbs and different things from animals and like shed antlers and like furs and like urine and all kinds of stuff. And you meet characters who have ailments, and based on their ailments, you have to collect things to come up with remedies. And there's a whole system in here for what their ailment is and what they might need, what might help them resolve it. So for example, here is a remedy called hair cap moss. This is a potent cure for loose bladders and popular with older beasts who cherish its fur conditioning qualities. And you need for this one some barbed strands, boiled 4, feathered 2, and hide 1. I forget the mechanics of this, but there's a whole mechanic for looking up or trying to figure out what remedy a character needs and then gathering all the ingredients you need to help them and then helping them. I haven't played this all the way through, but I have put several hours into this game, and it is really fun and very cozy, slow paced, low stakes again. When you get a physical copy, you also get an actual physical map, which just makes my heart really happy. The digital map is also helpful, but you do need the map because it has icons on it that tell you where, like based on the color of the icon is what kind of area it is and what kind of things you can find there. And you draw cards when you go into areas, and those make certain things happen in the game and move the game forward. So it's really fun. I liked digitally journaling this one, but I might try a new game and physically journal and see how that feels. But this is super, super cute. The next game that I have played digitally, but not physically, but now have a physical copy of, is the Broken Cask. This is a solitaire innkeeping game, and I picked this up after reading Legends and Lattes, which is a cozy fantasy book that has absolutely just stole my heart. I love it so much. This is Legends and Lattes vibes, but in a solo game, and so I had to get it. I played this digitally. The digital was like wildly inexpensive. I think it was just a couple dollars, but I now have a physical copy because I had to. But essentially the playing of this game is sort of like you create your inn, you name your inn, and then you basically roll dice to have certain events happen. I think, do you need cards in this one? I don't think so. Pretty much just dice. Yeah, you play it with paper and pencil and at least one 6-sided die. This one is a lot of fun because based on what you roll, so you're basically running the inn, and you have certain like sort of steps you take when you in each like day of play, and you roll for events. So you might have a cleaning event, a common guest event, a rare guest or troublesome guest, a monster attack, a gardening event, or a cooking order. And so you resolve these various things, and you have staff, and you sort of manage your staff. And it's just one of those things where if you like sitting down with an analog game, this one is really quite easy to set up and to play. And there's tables you roll on. So like, for example, if you can roll for all your table things like innkeeper background and your race and innkeeper quirks. And then let's say you have a special event. Well, you roll a d6, and depending on what you roll, you might have ye old job fair. And then it'll tell you like what you need to do, like what happens. You might have a troublesome guest, like a rowdy drunk or an unemployed ogre. You might have a rare guest like the master builder, a mythic being, or a traveler from distant lands. And so these tables tell you what happens. And so you roll. and you keep a bit of a session log. So you have your day, you have what season, what the weather was like, and essentially what happened on that day in your inn. And this one is cozy, fun, quick to play up, quick to set up, and I really enjoy this one. Now that I have a physical copy, I will definitely be playing it again, but I was playing it on my iPad and I had a great time with it. Okay, let's take a brief pause. I want to talk about 1,000-Year-Old Vampire because that is the game I'm playing now. Before I do, though, I want to highlight a game that was sent to me by a creator that's currently funding a game on Kickstarter that is tarot-based. This is not sponsored. I just wanted to put it in the game, in the video where I'm talking about games because that feels relevant. But this game is actually called Mystic Crossroads. Now, I have a very rough prototype of some of the components of the game. I don't have like a boxed version of the game to show you, but I did want to take you through this briefly because this is very specifically a tarot game that you can play as solo, like by yourself, which is what we're going to talk about today, but you can also play in collaboration with other people. What caught my attention about this, I've got a note from the creator here, but what caught my attention about this is that this is less a game and more a way to play at learning how to give yourself a tarot reading with or without the help of your friends. So you can do it as a social kind of reading style where it's a co-op sort of reading, or you can just read for yourself. But what I like about this game is that it kind of like gamifies learning how to do a reading. And I think that's really great. And I think that the deck that they have created, which is hand-drawn, not AI, which is important these days, it is designed to be a very beginner-friendly deck. Now, again, this is a very rough prototype. The final version will not have these like red lines on it. It will have, I think they've hit a stretch goal to have it be a linen finish. I think it's going to be 310 GSM linen finish. And they mentioned potentially having silver edges on the cards. So this is, again, just like a rough, it almost looks like it's been hand cut. Okay, so this is just to give you an idea. But we're going to look at the deck real quick, and then we're going to look at sort of the rough play format of this game. So let's just zoom in and look at the deck, because this is sort of, I think, the highlight of this. Now, the way the deck is designed is you have this cute hand-drawn artwork, you have the title of the card, and then you have at the bottom, if it's upright, at the bottom in upright, you have a group of keywords. Now, y'all know that I think keywords are great for learning the tarot, and I've spot checked quite a few of these, and I think they're quite good, the keywords. So, for example, for the Fool, you have enter the unknown, adventure, innocence, hopefulness, and wonder. But if this card is reversed, you have reckless choices, naivete, danger, foolishness, and unprepared. For the Magician, you have use your tools, manifestation, skill, willpower, and focus. Or if it's reversed, you have aimless effort, mismanagement, disarray, inauthentic, or trickery. So I think, just again, spot checking, I think that these keywords are really, really well done. This is an RWS clone, so it's going to mimic the compositions you're used to. I will not say that the art style of this is my favorite ever, but I love that it's been hand-drawn. I love that they did their own spin on the cards. And I think that the keywords in upright and reversed could really demystify looking at sort of like light and shadow in a tarot card and what that can look like and what it can mean. The deck itself, all by itself, I think makes a great study tool if you're trying to learn tarot and you just want to like get comfortable with working with cards and have it all feel a little less intimidating. And so for that reason, I think this is super, super fun. I have not, and one of the first cards I went to was the Three of Swords, because this is one that I think will often show if somebody like gets tarot or not. So we have Three of Swords, wisdom born of pain, revelation, catharsis, restoration, and resilience. Or we have self-inflicted pain, shame, criticism, guilt, and penance. I think these are excellent keywords for the Three of Swords, which is a card that kind of involves painful lessons. We have reckonings here. We have a lesson learned the hard way. So I was really impressed by the keyword combinations on the cards and just the way that the deck itself is designed. This is a game meant to be played with reversed cards. It's a game meant to shuffle the deck intentionally so that some of the cards are reversed, which is actually how this deck was sent to me. I just put it back in order because I'm neurotic and wanted to see all the cards, but also I wanted to be able to show you the flow because there's even some really great color themes. So here's all of our pentacles and you see that gold color. In the swords, we have these like sort of gray black tones that kind of run through lots of clouds. In the cups, you have blues. There's a lot of gold on that card, but mostly a lot of blue coming through. Oops. And then in the wands, where are we? There we go. I feel like we're still getting kind of gray, but you can see the wands poking through. So it might not be as strong of a color story as I originally thought, but certainly the Pentacles had a strong color story. Now, I personally like a little bit brighter color in my tarot decks, but for what this is supposed to do for its function, I think it's well designed. I like the keywords. Like I said, this is not something I would buy for the art. I would buy it because it's a fun way to learn tarot and to kind of get comfortable giving yourself a reading. It also comes with these dice. These are actually really cute. They're 6-sided dice, and 2 of them are just plain 6-sided die that you can roll. They just have the numbers 1 through 6 on each one. And then the other 4 have symbols on them. So you have astrological symbols along the top. So signs, planets, etc. Like there's the North Node, I think it is. So you have Gemini, Cancer, oh no, that's Leo. Never mind. Scorpio, Aries. Nope. Is that Aries? Yeah, that's Aries, right? Taurus. Anyway. And then on the bottom, you have runes. Hopefully you can see. I should have brought this up higher. You have runes. So you have runes and planets divided amongst these, planets and signs divided amongst these 4 other dice, which I think is kind of cool. And they're really pretty, so that's neat. Now, the one regret I have, I think they had a different Kickstarter campaign where they were selling these divination dice, and I'm assuming that those came with like some sort of keyword guide or system for using them, but they are incorporated into the actual gameplay of Mystic Crossroads. So let me just show you the game mat, which is a kind of like a reading cloth, basically. So in this, I'm going to zoom us out so you can really see it. Here, let's zoom, 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 zoom. Okay. So it's essentially a spread cloth with fixed positions. Move my pop out of the way here. So the way that this works, I have limited table space here, but bear with me. So you have a little spot over here, which is your dice pool, and it is labeled dice pool. You have a spot over here that says used dice. You have a spot here on the top left where you put your deck once it's been shuffled. You have a discard pile. Here is going to be your main play area or your spread. And you also have this spot here for your crossroads. And down at the bottom is a section that's just off the table that says consideration. And so let's just take a quick look at the rules. But here's essentially how this game is played. You have one player. If you're playing with more than one player, you have one player who's the traveler. That's going to be the person who's getting their cards read, and they're doing the reading for the most part themselves. They are going to shuffle the deck and put it here. Then if you are playing with other people, these other people, each one of them is called a fate. So if you've got one person across the table from you, you've got one fate. If you have 2 people, you've got 2 fates. And each of them are going to also draw some cards. And the idea is that it becomes like this interactive reading where when you go through step by step, you're pulling a few cards. For example, let me just actually shuffle this so we can nope, I got to shuffle it so that it'll actually get reversals. How do I do that? Have I forgotten how to shuffle reversals in? Okay, I'm just going to take half the deck. I think you just like this, right? I usually don't shuffle reversals in. So we're just going to like roughly do this. It's not going to be perfect. Okay. So basic play area is you first start out with sort of defining the goal. So this is going to be the main part of the reading, and this is going to go into the journey slot. Okay. So you are going to draw the traveler. That's the main person. That's me in this case, is going to draw 3 cards and put them in the consideration section. That's not on screen right now. And then the idea is that I'm going to flip the cards over, and I have 8 of Swords upright, King of Pentacles upright, and Strength reversed. And then based on this, I'm going to pick the one that sort of aligns with something I'm currently working on or working toward. So it says here, pick one that represents a journey you're already on, one you might take, or that you think might be fun to explore. So I'm going to say that actually Strength, I know this one is reversed, and that's going to matter, but for now I'm going to say that Strength in general, and it's upright. So look, I want more confidence. Let's say that's my journey. So since I'm playing by myself, I'm just going to discard the other 2 cards. But if I was playing with the fates would ask me to answer the question why I picked this card. And so it becomes a conversation with the person across from you where you're sort of expressing yourself. Without the fate asking that question, you as the traveler would just journal your thinking about this. Why did I pick this card? What is it I'm working on? So I would write down what I just articulated to you all. Well, I want more confidence, right? And then I would move this card in its reverse position up into the journey spot. Okay, I'm wrong. I forgot. This first one, I think you just go ahead and put it upright or reverse, depending on what makes sense for you. So in this case, I want it upright, so I'm going to put it there. With the other ones, you have a whole mechanic for whether or not the card flips. So then we have past, present, future, and advice. The other thing it tells me to do is to put a card into the Crossroads section, which When do we do that? Hold on. Ah, yes. Here it is in the beginning. Without looking at it, the traveler also draws one card face down from the deck and places it on the Crossroads slot. So I'm going to do that now. So I've got one there. Okay. So then we go into working on the past position. So in the past, we now contribute cards this way. So the idea here is that if I'm playing with other people, they've got a hand of cards that they can also give me. So in this case, I don't have any other people playing with me, so I'm just going to draw for myself. And you either draw cards yourself or do a combination of drawing for yourself and getting cards from other people. And they would pull from their hand based on what they think you might want to consider for your past. So in my case, I don't have anybody else playing with me. So I'm just going to draw 3 cards and place them face down in my consideration area, which is, again, just off of screen. And then the next step, so I have 0 fates. Nobody's playing with me, so I'm going to draw 3 cards from the top of the deck. And then I am going to... And then I just flip them over and I keep them in their orientation. So if anything's reversed, it stays reversed. So the cards that seem to least fit the reason why I'm looking for more confidence are going to go. The ones that resonate with me the least. Okay, so we've got Page of Cups, Sensitivity, sure, that feels like it could match. Hope, Lost, Despair, Cynicism, Hopelessness, Uninspired. I actually think Cynicism... a little bit could be playing into this need for, and I'm just making this up, but let's say that I think is playing into the past for me. So I think that's the one. I'm going to go ahead and discard these. Now, again, if I was playing with other people, there's more rules and us having a conversation, but again, I'm going to probably write down why I chose that card. Now I have an opportunity to roll the dice to determine whether the card stays in reverse or flips. Now, the way that this typically works is that you roll the 2 dice that don't have any symbols on them. And based on the total determines whether or not the card is going to flip. Now in this case, I think it actually should stay in the position that it's in. And this dice rolling part is the part I'm not so sure about, if I'm being honest. I think that it has a part to play, but I think it makes it very easy to give yourself the reading that you want, whether or not that's the reading that you should have, which is getting deep into the tarot side of this. But if we're just taking it lighthearted, my result is the star reversed, which I do think matches, and I want it to stay reversed. Now, on a roll of 9 or less, I'm going to rotate the card. If on a roll of 10 or higher, I'm going to keep the card's orientation. Well, my max roll on 2 dice is 12, so it's a high chance I'm going to have to flip the card. I don't want to have to flip the card because I think it makes sense the way that it is. So I'm going to go ahead and add, and these are dice, the remaining dice are dice I can spend. These I always get to keep. I'm going to spend 2 of these symbol dice. So now I'm going to be rolling 4 dice. That should improve my odds for getting to keep the card in the current orientation. And I add up the total. So I've got 9, I've got way more than 10. So I get to keep the card in its orientation. These 2 symbol dice go back and the ones with symbols go over here into my used dice. I don't have those to spend anymore. And now I'm going to repeat the same thing for my present and future cards. So I'm going to pull 3 cards. Face down, it's just me playing, flip them over. Which one feels resonant for the present and why I'm struggling with this? Actually, I think it's this 8 of Wands stuck energy in my present that's a problem. So I'm going to go ahead and pull this into present. Again, it's reversed 8 of Wands. It's representing stuck energy. That immediately feels right. So I'm going to leave that there. And again, I don't want this card to flip because I don't know if that's going to make sense. I think the idea is we're kind of handing part of the reading over to the fates when we roll the die. I'm going to use my last 2 remaining dice to make sure that this card stays in the orientation it is because that feels resonant to me. Okay, shoot. 5, 9, 10, 11. Even with 4 dice, I barely made it. So now I only have my core dice left and I've spent all my symbol dice. Time now to do my future card. And again, if I was playing with other people, I would maybe, let's say I had 2 people, each one of them would give me a card to consider and then I'd pull one randomly. So it becomes this thing where the people who know you or who you're friends with are also sort of nudging you toward maybe what you might want to think about. You know what I mean? So that's kind of a cool element. Anyways, so here we have for the future. What do I want my future to be? And this is where we get into sort of a gamified element, I think. In this case, I think I want the Chariot and I want it to be upright. I want to find my focus again, right? I want to feel like I've got confidence and that I'm on my path the way I'm supposed to be. So I'm going to choose the Chariot, but now I'm in trouble because I really want to flip its orientation. Actually, that's not bad because I've only got 2 dice left, but as long as I roll a 9 or lower, I can flip this card. So let's give it a try. So I got my Chariot upright, which means take the reins, determination, willpower, ambition, and purpose. And so the dice have worked with me to give me the future I'm kind of hoping for in this case. So now that we've done these, let me do a quick review. We did our future. Okay. Our 4th phase, which is this one down here, is our advice card. It says this one offers wisdom. If the future looks grim, it warns what to steer clear of. If bright, it highlights what to pursue. So we repeat all the prior steps and place the selected card here. If there are any unused dice, they must be used for this last roll. So if you haven't already spent these dice, you have to use it here. So there's that random element that sort of changes how things are going. But let's just see. I didn't flip these over in any order. Oh, goodness. Okay, so we have the Tower reversed, the Lovers, and the Queen of Pentacles. I'm actually going to choose the Lovers because here's what I'm thinking. I'm thinking the best advice for me in this situation is going to be the Lovers in upright. Deep connection, partnership, passion. I want the passion for my stuff again. I want to feel confident. I want to feel driven, and I want to find the passion again. Again, I'm making this up, y'all. I'm doing fine, okay? But so this was reversed. So I'm going to hope that I roll 9 or less with my two main dice because I want this to stay upright. I got a 7 again. So this flips. And we now have the Lovers, which I think is useful advice. And again, you journal your way through this. Again, it's kind of just a way to make doing a reading for yourself kind of fun. And then finally, we have the Crossroads. And it says, in the Crossroads, it says, the fates have spoken and the traveler has chosen, or have they? In this final phase, the traveler and the fates shape the journey one last time, honoring both intuition and unexpected revelation. So a fate asks, does this journey feel right? Now, I'm not playing with any other people or any fates, just myself. So it's just up to me. I can replace any one card with the face down Crossroads card, but I must place it before viewing it. So if there's anything here I'm not happy with, I can change my fate with this Crossroads card. So let's pretend I wanted to do that. I'm actually quite happy with my reading, so I don't. But let's say I was unhappy with the future card. So I'm going to discard the Chariot because that didn't turn out the way I wanted it to. And I'm going to put the Crossroads here instead. This is now my future. Okay, so now I flip this. And I have the Two of Swords. Now, if I'm happy with this, I move on to the next step. If I'm not happy, I can do one sort of clarifying card. So this is kind of, it says, if you're still uncertain, the traveler may request one final sign. Each fate selects a card and places it face down atop any phase, or we just skip that step, I guess, if we are playing by ourselves. It says, so we got the Two of Swords. In my case, because there's no fate, I'm thinking I can just choose one myself to clarify, like an additional card. So I could have done that if I wanted to. In my case, I actually was really happy with my original reading, so we're just going to go there and see what the ending looks like. And then reflection. So then you answer these cards. How does this journey feel? Does it seem like the right journey to pursue? What causes concern? What seems worthy of pursuit? What changes should be made? But the idea here, I think, is that you're gamifying the process of going through the process of doing a reading for yourself. And what I really like about this is that if you wanted to, say, sit down with a friend or a partner or do this at like a sleepover, you could like practice reading cards, but it's interactive. I think if you're playing this game with people who you can trust to really be gentle with you and honest with you and be like, hey, here's some cards we're suggesting you take a peek at. Like I could see sitting across the table from Peggy with this and her actually pulling some cards from her hand that I might want to really consider. But the traveler, the person who is getting the reading, who is doing the reading for themselves, ultimately has the final say in what cards they choose to put in these various positions. And I think this puts us in the driver's seat of the reading in a way that we don't normally. We normally give everything over to sort of fate and chance and pull the cards and just take the message we're given. And I'm actually a big advocate for that process. But I like the way that this makes me think of tarot a little differently and think of it as as something that I am choosing to interact with. And I'm picking my lesson in a way. I'm choosing out of only 3 cards, sure. And I'm kind of using this random dice element to introduce a little bit more of that sort of divination element, that sort of randomness that maybe I think that my 8 of Wands message was supposed to stay reversed, but what if I had to flip it? Well, then I've got to consider if maybe my speed and my hustle is what's actually getting in my way. And so even though I had an idea of what I thought this reading was telling me, and so I kind of used the dice to follow that through, if something different had happened, I would have still sat and thought about it and thought about, oh, maybe there's something I'm overlooking here. Let me dig in. And there's an interesting kind of play, random, but also gamified, but also gives you a little control element in this that I think is pretty fun to play with. This is not a complicated game. Like I said, I feel like this is much more of a sort of a tool for learning how to interact with tarot cards and guiding you through the process of actually sort of doing a reading. And if you're doing this just for yourself, I think it's a really easy and simple way to do a basic spread, but to gamify it a little bit and give yourself something to kind of jump off of. I think it's a fun premise. Like I said, this is funding on Kickstarter right now. They've already hit some of their stretch goals. And I think the rules of this are really, really simple. The back page even has a quick overview. When I first read through this, I was a little confused about the whole Traveler and Fates thing and how solo play works. And I mentioned to Jude, who reached out to me about this game, that it would be nice to have just a quick page like this, but for just solo play. But actually, I found that once I read this through and tried it out once, it kind of flowed pretty well as is. I still think a single page for solo play would be nice, but it's not something I think you need. I think it's pretty clear what to do when it's just you playing. But if you want to try your hand at like something that's mostly tarot with just a little gamified, I think this is a fun one to sort of dip your toes into. So I think it's really great. Honestly, I think the big selling point for this for me is a cool beginner-friendly deck with upright and reverse meanings. I also think this might be fun if you are somebody who typically struggles with reverse meanings, because this will force you, not force, that's probably too strong of a word. This will encourage you to experiment with considering how the card feels different when it's reversed versus upright, just by playing through some readings in this game with these components, I think can really like encourage that. And because the meanings are right on the cards, it makes it really easy. I happen to also think that there are other decks you could use with this same system and play almost the exact same way. Once you sort of get your head wrapped around uprights and reversals and what those mean, you could easily take any deck. I could pull my Unicorn's Journey out because my guidebook has upright and reverse meanings, and I could go through this exact same process using my Unicorn's Journey. I could even use my own 6-sided dice. I don't have to use these. The only downside, I would say, the only thing I really noticed that I was a little bit disappointed about is that even though these divination dice have astrological and rune symbols, there's nothing in this game instruction set, which is, again, just a prototype, that gives you another layer you can work with that is guided. Now, if you already know astrology and you already know runes, then your results on those dice could be something you incorporate into your reading. But if you don't know those things, that's just going to be decoration on your dice. So I think they did have a stretch goal when I looked at their campaign last time, that if they meet it, there will be some sort of guide for the astrological symbols and the rune symbols on the dice that you can kind of incorporate in. I'm not 100% sure on that. Don't quote me, check the campaign. But I think I saw there was a stretch goal that had something to do with that, which would be really cool because I think it could give you a more advanced layer to work with here if you wanted to. But overall, I think the deck is well designed. I think the keywords are great. And I think the gameplay flow is great for a beginner who wants to really like learn tarot and kind of learn how to build a reading for yourself. Overall, I think this was really fun to check out. Thank you to Jude for sending it my way so I could share it with all of you. I will have a link to the Kickstarter campaign for you down below. I may or may not have a lot of the other games I've talked about today linked. I will try to put them all down in a link list because we're going to talk about a whole bunch more. Like I said, I told you this is going to be a long one. So anyway, that's Mystic Crossroads. I'm going to wrap this up and we're going to get on to the other games that I have in my solo collection here. Y'all, I knew I told you to buckle up, but I don't think I realized how long this video was going to be. So I hope we're having fun. Are we having fun yet? Anyways, let's talk about Thousand Year Old Vampire. Oh my gosh, this is so fun. Okay, I would say that as solo journaling role-playing games go, and this one uses no tarot, so it's kind of a hard left from the last one, but this one, I would say, is easier to pick up and much more immersive and requires much less as far as like setup and journaling and components. This is so easy to just pick up and play with just a journal and this book and a couple dice. So easy and so immersive, and it's beautiful. This creator also has a book that I backed on either Kickstarter or BackerKit called So I Met a 1,000-Year-Old Vampire. First of all, this book is designed to look like a sort of like it's been junk journaled a bit, which the aesthetic is just top tier. The setup for this is so simple. You create a character, it walks you through how you create your vampire, and the premise is that you are a newly made vampire and you are going to live for hundreds of years, possibly 1,000. And you're going to have a wide variety of experiences, and you're going to, over time, forget things. You're going to have these experiences, you're going to lose memories, you're going to lose people, you're going to lose resources. It is dark. The themes are dark. Be aware that it is dark. But what I love is just how freaking immersive it is. So it tells you how you create your character. It explains to you how the passage of time works. It's very easy to read and to understand how to play, but the bulk of the book are these prompts. So I'm going to introduce you to this book by introducing you to my character who I'm currently playing in 1,000-Year-Old Vampire. Her name is Claire Beaumont. She was from 14th century France, In her mortal life, she was a lover of books, known for keeping and managing a large collection inherited from her father. She had married young, but was widowed early on in her marriage when her then husband died of the plague. Mercifully, she survived. She has some skills. She started with 3. Her skills were impeccable handwriting and patience to copy long texts without error. She can forge or reproduce. She had a sharp memory for folklore. She's already lost this skill, but she has sharp memory for folklore and tales, which lets her easily recall and embellish stories that inspire or mislead. And she also had persuasion or charisma. She can coax and influence, earning others' trust easily. She also now has the bloodthirsty skill. That's part of what's happened to her in her life. She has some resources. She has some books, a special ring. She has a diary, more on that in a moment, and some people that she has interacted with, one of whom was dead, but then came back, so she wasn't actually dead. We thought she was dead. She has a vampire mark. So this is her starting mark, is that her reflection is always blurred. So when she sees it, it's almost like it's being seen through rippling water. The game play is actually super, super, super simple. You start out with 5, you have 5 memories. A memory can hold 3 kind of connected experiences. Once a memory is full, so once you have 3 individual experiences in a memory, that memory is full and you can no longer add to it. You have up to 5 memories to add to at any one given time. Once you have no place to add an experience that makes sense, you have to, if your memory is full and you need to add an experience, but there's no room, like this memory here was full. There were 3 experiences I had. They were all about my Aunt Elizabeth, okay? So this memory is full. The next time I needed a memory to write a memory about Aunt Elizabeth, I didn't really have a spot that made sense to put. So I would have forgotten everything here about Aunt Elizabeth and I would have started basically fresh. But my character has a diary, so I was able to move this memory to a diary. But essentially it's a memory keeping game. And the way you get experiences that then fill up your memories is by resolving prompts. And the prompt system here is so simple. You basically have a 10-sided dice and a 6-sided dice. So a 10 and a 6. I'll just pull my petrified dice here real quick. You roll them. You subtract your 6-sided dice from your 10-sided dice. So in this case, I rolled a 4 on my 10 and a 6 on my 6. 4 minus 6 is -2. So if I was currently on prompt 4, I would have to go backward to prompt 2 and resolve this prompt. So it says, horrified at your new nature, you withdraw from society. Where'd you hide? How do you feed? Create a stationary resource which shelters you. Now, if for some reason, because that was a backward step, I'd already done this prompt, I would just go to the next one on the page. There's 3 on every page. And so when I resolve this prompt, I write an experience in my book and I roll again. Now I've got 7 minus 5. I'm going to go 2 spaces forward. If I've already done prompt 4, I'm now doing the second one on prompt 4, right? And then you roll again. And throughout these rolls and resolving these prompts, you are adding to experiences, you're gaining skills, you're losing skills, you're gaining memories, you're losing memories, you lose resources, people die, you kill people. Like, it's wild. And it's very punchy because the goal for each experience is to just write a single sentence. I usually write 1 to 3 sentences, but you keep your entries very, very short, which keeps you from having to overthink. For example, one of my recent experiences was, where is it? I had to lose my name. Yes, here it is. I realize if I'm to blend in here in Provence, I have to use a name other than Beaumont. My father's name is too well known. I will now go by Claire Bouvier. It's a common enough name, not associated with my father. That's all I had to write. The thing told me that I had lost my name, so I had to explain why I lost my name and what my new name was going to be. And literally, that's what they're like. Here's another one. My bloodthirst is so strong it takes up my mental space. I remember opening my mouth to tell one of Aunt Elizabeth's tales only to find the words dissolved into ash before they could leave my tongue. I'd forgotten them. And that's because it told me, like, I had to scratch off one of my skills. In this case, I scratched off my sharp memory for folklore and tales, and I could no longer remember those stories. So I had to describe what losing that skill felt like. And so that's the kind of thing it'll do. Like, some of these prompts will literally say, you're recognized for what you are by another creature like yourself. Create an immortal character, lose a resource, and gain a skill. What did you lose to them? And so They're very straightforward prompts, but they're very evocative. And I am so invested in Clara Beaumont, and I've only played like for an hour this game. I've only done a few prompts. And what I do is I leave my red bookmark. There's 2 bookmarks built in. I leave my red bookmark on whatever prompt page I'm currently on, and I just make a note in my journal what last prompt I'm on. So I'm currently on prompt 34, and the NW that I wrote here means not written. So I rolled and got to prompt 34, but I haven't done this prompt yet. So it's not written. I have to tell you, of the games that I've tried and played so far, this one it's so fun, it's so simple, it's easy to follow, it's easy to play. But again, the themes are very dark. You're playing as a vampire. And I'm hoping that by the time this is done, I will have this very like rich and like sort of experienced vampire character who's like really ancient and has been through all these experiences. And maybe I can have this character be somebody that I meet in another game. You know what I mean? Like you kind of create these like dynamic characters. Anyways, I think this is super fun. I can't wait to get So You Met a 1,000-Year-Old Vampire. And I'm kind of hoping the games can play in tandem. Like you play through a portion of this game and then maybe you port that character into the other game. I don't know. We'll see how it goes. But I think this is so great for a solo role-playing game. Okay, let's talk about a solo RPG that has nothing to do with tarot and also journaling. Kind of, mostly. Let's talk about For Against Darkness. Oh my god, I am so hooked on this game. I have accessories for it. It's a whole thing. This is the worst designed game book like in life though. You can get this on Amazon. It's not very expensive. I don't know if this was this self-published? Yeah, self-published. It is terribly designed. It is awkward, but it's pretty easy to learn how to play. And once you learn how to play and you get the flow of play, it's quite fun. This is a dungeon crawler. So in this game, you literally roll dice. You're only rolling d6, basically. You create a cast of characters. You don't need to know much about the characters. I'll explain how mine are set up. Here, I'll just take you in. So here's essentially how it works, because here's a game that I'm partway into right now that I started this. This is a game that I've run these characters through several dungeons. This is like their 4th dungeon, I think. You create a cast of characters. Each character has some basic abilities, some basic armor, some basic defense. And I'm going to say basic 8,000 times. I'm so sorry. There's some steps here. You need to know what order they're walking in through this dungeon. But essentially, you just kind of roll for everything. So the way that this works, I've got like this bookmarked on the play section. The way that this works is you roll 2 dice. They call this a D66. I have a black one and a white one, so I always know that the black one is first and the white one is second. So I roll them, and I got 1, 1. So that's actually 11. It's a 2-digit number, so it's 11. So in the rooms section, I would go to room 11, and I would add this to the, like, let's say my crew is right here. They're actually currently fighting zombies. They haven't finished fighting them yet. But let's say I'm here. I build room 11. I draw it on my little grid on this page. And then I roll to see what's in the room. So now I'm going to roll my 2d6 again. This time I'm going to add the total. So now I have the number 10. So 10 means that this room, I need to roll on the Weird Monsters table. So I'm going to go to the Weird Monsters table. This is literally how this game plays, and it's so fun. I'm going to go to the Weird Monsters table. Where is Weird Monsters? Here it is. And I'm going to roll a d6. And I rolled a 3. That means that there is a chimera in this room, and it is level 5. It has 6 life points, 3 attacks, and normal treasure. Now, I'm not going to go into the weeds with all this because it's a very simple system, but you essentially fight the zombies by rolling. You roll dice. So I actually have a room with 4 zombies in it right now. They're level 3, and all you need to do to take one out is roll a number higher than 3, where your attack is higher than 3. Now, Sir Aldrich's my warrior. This is a really easy one. His dice is the red dice. This is his health counter. He currently has 8 hit points. So this is like when I tell you I got accessories for them, like literally. So anyways, I roll Sir Aldrich's dice. He rolled a 5. Well, these guys are only level 3, and he rolled higher than their level, so he already killed 1 zombie. So 1 zombie's out. Now, he's already played that turn. I've also got a rogue. So my rogue is going to roll their die. This is Thistle Quickstep. Thistle's going to roll. Thistle rolled a 3. Now, Thistle gets a -1 to their attack unless we outnumber them, which thankfully we currently do. There are 3 zombies. There's 4 of us. So he actually gets to add +3 to his roll. Well, he's -1 +3, so he's +2. So that means he's got a total of 5, and he killed another zombie. And this is just literally how it goes. It's super simple. When it's the zombie's turn to fight, you roll your character's defense. You, depending on what armor you're wearing, again, it's very simple. You set that up at the beginning of the game, but depending on what armor you're rolling, determines whether they hit you or not. So I'm going to have a zombie hit my warrior. He rolled a 1. So a 1 is always a failure. So they actually hit him. So he's going to take 1 hit point of damage. It's always 1 hit point of damage unless it says otherwise. So he goes from an 8 to a 7 hit points. And that's basically it for how the game works. You go room to room, and after you kill all the creatures in a room, or you find it empty and you search it, you can get treasure. You account for the treasure, you build up gold. There's a mechanic for leveling up your characters once you've fought so many minions or so many bosses. And every time you hit a boss in a room, you roll to see if it's the final boss or not. And when you kill the final boss or the final boss runs away, you win that dungeon. And then you have to make your way back out of the dungeon, possibly encountering more monsters along the way, and that's the end of your game. You can play through a session of 4 Against Darkness in easily in if you're just sitting down and just playing it with no distractions, in an hour. You can create and run through an entire dungeon, but you can also get way more involved with it if you want. I usually just write down what happened in every room, what I found, what gold I got. In this room here, room 6, I number them as I go. In room 6, we encountered a dragon. We hit him 3 times and then he ran away. And we got a ton of treasure from him. And so it's all just rolling dice and following instructions. It's pretty straightforward. Again, it took me a few tries to kind of get how this particular game was set up. But once you figure it out, it's super easy and quick to play. So I have dice that match the color of these counters for my 4 characters. And they continue to level up as they go through more and more adventures and dungeons. And I think once they hit level 5 or something, then they're pretty much too overpowered to play anymore. And there's about 1,000 add-on books, adventures, things that add to and change and improve this game. It's wild how much stuff there is for this one, but it's literally just make dungeons, take your little party through the dungeon, see how they do. They find items, they find spells. There's a wizard. It's so fun. This is actually a Gentle Tarot book. It's perfect because it's got grid paper on one side and lines on the other. So I can draw my dungeon on this side and my lines on this side. And I have played the heck out of this game so far, and I really like it. Super simple, not a lot of journaling. Just take your characters through some little adventures. Super fun. Highly recommend this one. But again, the book is kind of clunky, but there's a Facebook group of people, there's Reddit groups of people talking about how to play this. You can download charts and there's tons of resources because it's been around forever. I mean, this is copyright. What is the copyright? Does it even tell us? When was this made? Of course it doesn't tell us. It's the worst formatted book ever. It's really hard to run around and find different things, which is why I have bookmarks in here. It's a lot. But once you wrap your head around kind of playing it through and kind of muddle your way through it and figure it out, it's so easy and so repeatable and super fun. And high stakes because you're always fighting monsters, so you can get killed really easy, especially in the beginning. Anyway, that one's super fun. Another game that I haven't played yet, but I think is going to feel quite similar, is this one called Delve. The idea with this one is that you're literally drawing a map. You're kind of creating a dungeon as you go. So this one looks really fun, and people seem to get quite creative with drawing in this one. So your prompts for things based on, again, pulling cards. So this is ace through king. So there's a jack, queen, king. So it's playing cards, but you, of course, could just take out your pages and knight, queen, king and use any tarot deck for a vibe. You pull cards, and based on the card is what you draw in your dungeon. So if you draw the queen, you found a slumbering worm. An ancient dragon sleeps upon its hoard. Once per turn, you may steal 20 something and roll a d4. Oh, these are adventures, good magic. Wait, where are the rooms? Are the rooms dice? Oh, no. Here's the rooms. I was giving you bad information. So the 5 of hearts is a kennel. A kennel allows you to tame creatures. See page 8. Each kennel can hold a single creature of 5 hounds. If you got a 15 of hearts, I don't know how you would do that, but if you get a 15 of hearts, towering bookcases house the history of your hold and the secrets of arcana. After building, draw a card and consult the good magic table. Each library can house 5 mages. But the idea is that it's like this. You start out with a piece of grid paper and you can kind of draw across and also down, so you have multi-levels. And so you're drawing the map as you're playing the game. And you encounter monsters, you can kind of have resource rooms, you can get really involved. But if you look up YouTube videos, this one looks really fun. And I thought this would be a fun one just to play and be more creative, I guess, and sketch a little bit. I thought that'd be kind of cool. So that is Delve. Really excited to play this. This one is a tarot game that I backed on Kickstarter called Anamnesis. This was a print and play. I'm trying to remember if there was a physical copy. My copy was a print and play. But this game is all about recovering your memories. So this is a solo role-playing game. It says a solo journaling game about self-discovery, reflection, and identity. You play as an individual who has woken up with memory loss. You do not remember who you are, where you are, or what you care about. As you draw tarot cards, you fill the blank spaces of your past and learn more about your present. To play, you need a deck of tarot cards and a way to record your thoughts, pen and paper, audio recording, or etc. And so it gives you samples of play, and there's safety notes again, so you kind of know what you're getting into, how you play. But again, you have prompts. So when you're in Act 2, you're going through the swords. So you draw 3 cards from your deck of swords, and depending on which ones you get are which memories you recover. And I have not played this yet. This is on my list. It's a pretty simple little one. But again, I backed this on Kickstarter, got it as a digital download, and just printed it out for myself. This next game is one that I would really, really like to incorporate into my video series. And I think I'm going to. So my plan with this is to incorporate it into my deck roulette series, I think. And maybe just rename the series or like use it in the series. But the premise of this is pretty simple. It's called Auspex. And in Auspex, you are basically reading for people in a world. So the premise of this game, again, you need a tarot deck, you need a journal, and a pen or a pencil. So the premise of this is you create a world. You just need a simple description of the world and how it might be prepared to change. So for example, the world might be a sleepy town in Regency era England. Any day now, a new king will be crowned. And then it says, there is room for great change, an upheaval that will make room for a new world. Create that possibility for change. So let's talk about the one we just did. A sleepy town in Regency era England, any day now, a new king will be crowned. On the morning of the coronation, the uncrowned king is slain. There is no heir to the throne, and so a search for a new ruler must begin. So this world is in the midst of upheaval, in the midst of change. And then you go through and you draw cards, and you have majors, and then you have a fully shuffled deck including majors. So I would probably use 2 different decks, one for my major arcana and one for doing readings for my visitors. But how this works is each day a different visitor comes to see you. You draw a major arcana to see who is visiting and and then you draw a minor arcana card to see what their question is. So the example given here is the High Priestess, and the question is the 8 of Cups. The priestess asks, I don't know who I am. I feel I always lose myself in others to the point where I don't know where I end and where they begin. Please tell me, who am I? The next stage in play is you choose a spread, and the book conveniently has exactly 20 spreads in the back, so I suppose you could roll a d20, or you can pick the spread that feels appropriate to their question, and then you take your full tarot deck, you do a reading for this person to answer this person's question, and you make note of what you told them, like what advice you gave them. At the end of 7 days, the world changes, and the world changes based on the readings that you gave. So what I thought might be fun about this is that it has sample questions and sample querents. And I'm already doing a series called Deck Roulette where I am randomly picking a deck to do a sample reading with. And an oracle deck, a tarot and an oracle. So I would basically modify this game to involve both decks, and I would read for that querent using those decks, and we would build the game together. If you're interested in that, drop it in a comment down below. Let me know that sounds intriguing to you, because I think that's what I'm going to do, is incorporate this into Deck Roulette so we can see what it's like to play through a game of this beginning to end. At the end, based on the readings you gave, you determine how the world that you've created will change. So if you're curious about seeing that in action, again, drop me a comment. Let me know that that's something you want to see happen. And as we go through the next series of Deck Roulette videos, we will actually play through a round of Auspex. It'll take quite some time because I'm not doing the Deck Roulette videos very often, like probably no more than once a month. So it will take us some time to get some resolution in the world, but it'll be fun to kind of play through that way. That's a fun, simple one that also gets you practice reading tarot, much like that Mystic Crossroads. It's an opportunity to kind of have a reason to practice doing readings. And some of us struggle with having ways to practice readings. Maybe we only have a couple people we like to pull cards for that like us to pull cards for them, and we want to practice more. Games like that are a great way to do that. Some other games I have... Oh my gosh, there's so many, y'all. Okay, let's talk about this book. So in here I have a couple vampire games. Apparently that's a thing. So this game is called Bloodless, and it's a basic vampire survival solo RPG. So in this one, you just need 5 4-sided dice, a 6-sided die, 2 20-sided dice. I love that it involves lots of dice, y'all, because I have lots of dice. That might not be your thing. Some tokens to keep track of the game's currency, which is blood. And here's the premise. This is not your night. Maybe you've messed with the wrong person and they've been hunting you down for days, or you've lost a fight and you're badly injured. Either way, you're exhausted. Chances are good you won't see another twilight. If you can make it to your haven, you might survive, but that's a big if. In this game, you play as a vampire at their limit. Your goal is to make it back to a safe place where you can recover. That could be a hidden sanctuary that only you know about, or in the company of trusted allies. You don't have much time to get there, however. The sun will soon rise and burn away any vampire out in the open. There's, of course, a content warning, but the gameplay is pretty simple. You have 6 rounds, and you have certain steps you follow in those 6 rounds, and essentially, if things go well, you survive. If they go poorly, you don't. And so it looks like a pretty quick play. It's only like, what, 10, 12 pages? It looks real simple. It's legitimately just 6 hours till sunrise, go. And there's events that can happen based on your rolls, and you go through and you just see, do you make it? Do you not? It was really inexpensive. I thought it would just be fun. The whole goal is just to survive the night. Pretty simple. This next one is one I plan to play with Miss Danny Mystic once our mail is moving again, which I think is going to be soon-ish now, maybe? I don't know. They're now talking about doing rolling strikes. I don't know. Some mail will move, some will stay stuck. I don't know. Anyway, in this game, you are creating a vampire character who is part of the Dead Letter Society. And so it's a letter writing game. If you're playing by yourself, you're journaling your way through. If you're playing with another person, then it is a 2-player game of letter writing. And you only need 1 to 2 people willing to write, and you are following the prompts. There's going to be all kinds of stuff happening in here. We have a time frame, real world length. We have vampire traits. And as I understand it, again, tarot, Page of Wands, Queen of Wands. So depending on what you pull, you will have a prompt to resolve. So this game also involves tarot. I really want to use the Ian Daniels Vampire Tarot with this one. I think it's going to be perfect vibe for this, or maybe even the Bohemian Gothic would also be really great for this. I am so stoked to get into this. I have not dug super deep because I don't want to spoils. I want to be kind of surprised about how the game goes, but planning to do this as a letter writing game with Danny, and I think it would be really, really fun. So I have a journal. It's all like put into a journal so that I have a place to do my journaling, and then I'll also, of course, have letter writing because it's both. It's both journaling and letter writing. So that's some fun vampire games. Some other ones, y'all, like for reals. Okay, this one is called Jude's World, and this one is a solo tarot-based journaling game in which a precocious preteen protagonist struggles to reunite their estranged parents. Okay, I'm gonna be so for real. This caught my attention because it sounds like a Parent Trap game. That's literally Parent Trapping 101. It's a Parent Trap game. It also has all the 90s vibes in the artwork, which is amazing. You prepare your deck. You draw cards, you document, twist, trap, or pass, you write, talks about the minor and the major arcana, you can spring traps, there's a whole mechanic here, but essentially you are parent trapping your parents. And I think that just seems like so much fun. So this one is another tarot-based one. I think this would be fun to play with a game or with a deck like This Might Hurt Tarot, or Good Karma Tarot, or the Cosmic Cycles Tarot. I think any of those would be really, really fun. But examples of prompts in here. These are keepsakes. We have accomplices, depending on what context you pull a card for. I just saw like a bunch of prompts. Where were they? Oh, these are like objects. It's interesting. 3 of Wands, a fragile piece of origami. What is the shape that the paper is folded into? Then there's preteen events. There's twists. So the Hanged Man, you change your mind about something important. The Moon, you hurt someone's feelings badly, etc. This just seems like so much fun. Again, I'm not going to get into like the rules of everything, but these are just different premises for games. This is called My Mother's Kitchen, and I believe this one also uses tarot. It sure does. And in this one, My Mother's Kitchen is a solo journaling game about traditions, change, and cooking. You play as the author of the original family recipes, robbed of memory and trapped on Earth in the spirit of your cookbook. As the spirit of your cookbook. You act as a guardian for your family and try to remember why you're bound to the book as you guide your inheritors through centuries and generations. Every time someone makes a recipe from your book, you'll draw tarot cards and roll dice to remember who you are and why you're trapped. And maybe, just maybe, a generation will achieve what you've dreamed of and you can finally rest. I just thought that sounded so fun. And again, the aesthetics of this, like you're literally a recipe book. Like, if you love art, like, it's so easy to get sucked into these. Okay. Apothecaria. This is spelled the proper way, but is by the same creator and actually predated this one, Apothecary. Same idea, but more witchy. So this one is all about solo potion making and is much like the animal version. You encounter people or characters who need ailments treated, and you help treat their ailments. You collect regents, you do potions, and you help them out. And this kind of game is just cozy and a lot of fun. So I was happy to pick that one up as well. Okay, these next ones get a little more involved. Oh my goodness. Okay, so I had to pick this up. This one is called Deify, a mythical solo role-playing game. This is tarot-based, but listen to this. Will you be a merciful or vengeful deity, benevolent or cruel? The choice is yours. Discover Deify, a solo role-playing game based on mythology from around the world. Create new gods and mold their fate from inception to demise. Manage diverse resources like domains, epithets, and mortal champions. Navigate written prompts with a tarot deck. So again, this game is tarot-based, but you are essentially creating a god or goddess and literally taking them through their entire life cycle using the major arcana. So you have their birth, and you just go through, and they have all of these experiences, their prime phase, their decline phase, and then we have, I think these are just major arcana. There's a whole journal section. Like, this is quite, like, this much is the game rules, and then this much is like actual journaling space in this book. I don't know that I would journal in this book, but there's like a character name, or character page, I mean. But it's mostly prompts. Again, swords, wands. So depending on what card you pull will impact what is happening to your deity. So it talks about creating your deity and like all of this stuff. Love this. Love this. So takes you through the whole thing. This one was on Amazon. So again, I will link the ones that are pretty easy to scoop up. Keep in mind that if you get solo games on like Amazon, you're not going to get a digital download as well. So if you can support small solo game sellers, a lot of them will have digital downloads included for free. So just kind of keep that in mind. I didn't check to see if I could get this one. I was just enamored, and it was so beautiful. And yeah. This one is called Tangled Blessings. I feel like this was Dark Academia. Yeah. On the eve of your final exam at Blackroot Academy, a magical college for adults, what mysteries, secrets, dangers, friends, and ghosts will you recall from your last 4 years of schooling? Tells you how long to play, 2 to 4 hours, 1 to 2 players. Playable in 1 or multiple sessions with natural breaks. Supports solo play. Doesn't require a character sheet because there's no skills to track. Is diceless. Only tarot cards are required to play. So again, games like this, oh, it came with stickers. This one had all of the like magical academy. Oh my gosh. So you have a rival, you have a rival list. So depending on who you have. And again, this one takes you through the suits. So year 1 is wands, year 2 is cups, year 3 is pentacles, and year 4 is swords. And brief major arcana meanings. So there's a major arcana element in here as well. There's tables. Oh my gosh, I am so excited to play this one. Tangled Blessings. I just thought that sounded so great. And again, ones that involve tarot are obviously extra exciting. This one, I just loved the premise so much. This is called Death of the Author. This is another one that would make a good 2-player game because you could do like letter writing, I believe, with this one. But this says, what would a character do upon confronting their author? Death of the Author is a 1 to 2 player game about a character fighting for agency within their own story. Over the course of 5 chapters, the character attempts to shape the narrative by twisting the scenes written by their author. Use a deck of tarot cards to tell a story of character autonomy and authorial intent. What messages does the author send throughout the character's story? What happens when the character finally confronts their author? So it can be played solo or with a friend over the course of 2 to 4 hours. Again, using a tarot deck. Like, come on. How freaking cool is that? I had to. Tara was telling me about this from Cozy Core. A solo game for ghosts. This one is so freaking fun looking. I bought it immediately as soon as she told me about it. You are exploring a house. How freaking cool is this? I don't remember if this one uses tarot. I'm trying to remember. What does it say? An old house, your new home, and you aren't the only one restless at night. A game for one of summoning the ghosts that haunt your home and the memories they dredge up with them. I don't think... I know there's something about going through the various rooms, and the art in this book is really cool. Like here's the part of your story where you're in the kitchen, here in the hallway. Oh my gosh. How to play. What you will need to play: the book, the key bookmark and keyhole card, a pencil or pen, scrap pieces of paper, a dozen or so, colored pencils if you want to have colorful specters. Oh, because you draw the little ghosties you meet, I think. Washable markers if you wish to mark your body, excuse me, or scraps of ephemera for collage if you wish to build your specters out of the remnants of other things. So this is, again, a more creative game. It will ask you to do 3 main things: summon, remember, and mark. You will occasionally be asked to do other things like list, imagine, write, see, wonder, or turn a page. Whenever you are being asked to act or change the story in some way, the text format will always look bolded and italicized, and the action will be accompanied by a visual cue detailed in their respective sections. Dwelling wants you to change it in irreversible ways. Ink the pages, draw, collage, sketch within the book, but also understand that sometimes that's hard to do, so you may want to tuck in pages as you see fit. Let the book remain the book and hold the way you play in between its covers. I have no idea, but this looks so fun. So that's Dwelling. Okay, these last ones are more involved. Actually, no. One is really easy. This is what I'm trying. There's a whole series of these. I think there's 7. This is like a cross between a solo role-playing game and choose your own adventure book. I think it's more like a choose your own adventure book, honestly. It's called Fabled Lands. And essentially, each book is standalone, but apparently you can also... the books also sort of connect, but as I understand it, the series never quite fully finished. So it was supposed to be, I think, 10 books, and I think only 7 ever got made. But the way this works is you have a map of the Fabled Lands, tells you how you play, but essentially you start the book. Wait, are we done already? Oh yeah, you just start the book. So you read, and then when you get to... just trying to see where it starts. It talks about skills and things like that you get. You read, and when you get to the end, you have an instruction. So in this case, you get a code word, and then you turn to 20. So 20 tells you to go to prompt 20. So you go to prompt 20, you read prompt 20, and then you have choices. So you meet a character, and you can follow him, in which case you go to this prompt, explore the coast, go to that prompt, or head into the nearby forest and go to the other prompt. It's not necessarily asking you to write things down, but you could if you wanted to keep track of your story, or you could just like literally read this book and just go to the different prompts, see what happens next, make your choice, see what happens next. But obviously you could read this multiple times and get multiple outcomes. This seems like a really fun, just like pick up and have a little adventure kind of game. I haven't done this yet, but it looks really straightforward, and again, kind of like roleplay game light. So if you want something that's very guided, this is that. The Fabled Lands. So this is the first book, called The War-Torn Kingdom. If I like it, I will get other ones, but I thought it'd be fun to check it out. Okay, now we're on to my 3 most involved ones. This one is called For Small Creatures Such as We. And this one is a kind of cozy sci-fi, is the vibe I understand. It's got quite a bit more rules and prompts and things, but as I understand it, this is a space exploration game involving this sort of hex map where you travel across the galaxy and you have different experiences. But essentially, there should be like a summary page on here somewhere. Ah, here we go. Step into the role of a human starship captain with their new alien crew as you explore a vast original sci-fi galaxy. This solo and co-op RPG is designed to guide you as you create unique alien species from scratch and learn about their cultures, biologies, behaviors, and personalities through play. On top of this, you will also find everything you need to explore a galaxy full of opportunities. Take it easy and transport cargo and passengers, boldly explore and research new planets, become a bounty hunter, racer, space pirate, or earn your fortune mining asteroids. All you need to play is a deck of playing cards, or a tarot deck, a 6-sided die, and something to record your voyages. A journal. This is so freaking cute and beautiful. First of all, they have a really cool system for character creation where you literally sort of create your character and like you pick things off of this hex grid for like what they were like as a kid, a teen, and an adult. And based on that, you have prompts within each section that you can kind of form your character with. I love these kind of guided character creation things because they really give you the picture of who you're playing as. And then it gives you some backstory goals. And you can randomize these things or you can select them intentionally. Some unusual powers, and it has playing card suits here, so you can do some card pulling there. Orders, making your crewmates, what your crewmates need, what your crewmates' traits are. And so you can have all kinds of things. And then you do the same thing. This goes into creating your ship. What systems does it have? And all of this is guided. Luxuries. Does your ship have an auto bar or a personal hygiene suit or a sense theater? Does it have a decontamination chamber or a lab? Does it have racer engines or hauler engines? What kind of defenses does it have? What kind of paint job does it have? I mean, like, this lets you create everything. And y'all, if you didn't know I was a nerd before, you definitely know it now, because I cannot freaking wait to do all of these steps. Contacts talks about crime and how stealing works, reputation and titles, and how there's a combat system in here. But like, look at this, like, it's so immersive. And there's like this like fake language and like currency in here. Tons and tons of prompts. So these are planetary events shadow. I mean, there are so many different things that can happen. There's a cargo mission, passenger mission. There's crime, exploration mission. So again, depending on what you're doing, you pull different cards, you have different experiences, you make your way through the galaxy. And again, I mean, these games sound complicated, but what happens is that you start out in like the character creation phase of any of these kinds of games that are more involved like this. D&D books are the same way. You start out in the character creation phase, and before you know it, you've got a pretty clear picture of what it is you're doing and what you're going to be working on. And this just seemed like cozy space. Yes. Like, why would I say no to that? Incredible. For something less cozy and still in space, this I had to get because all of the solo role-playing content was talking about this as like the, I don't know, epitome. But she's beefy. She's quite beefy and quite involved. But apparently this is a really easy one to get into. But the premise of this game is, in the Ironsworn Starforged tabletop RPG, you will explore uncharted space, unravel the secrets of a mysterious galaxy, and build bonds with those you meet on your travels. Most importantly, you will swear iron vows and see them fulfilled no matter the cost. Starforged is the standalone sci-fi evolution of the award-winning Ironsworn tabletop RPG, packed with guidance and tools to undertake sworn quests in a galaxy of your own making. This rulebook is your path to unlimited adventure. So it has a solo, co-op, or guided way of playing. The neat thing about this is there's another game that is completely free to download called Ironsworn. That is the system this is based on. But this took that free, like, you can literally go find Ironsworn and download it for free. Totally fine. It's allowed. But this took that and just built upon it and expanded it into this like massive thing. There's tons of options for how you play this game. This might be too many options for me. We will see. This is, like I said, I feel like the less cozy version of For Small Creatures Such as We. But it's supposed to be a game that has more combat and more like interactions and things. There's more dice rolling. And that's something that I find really attractive. If you're somebody who wants something more simple, this would probably be kind of a lot. I'm not getting into this anytime soon, but I do want to play through this and see what I think. I will probably do For Small Creatures Such as We first, I think, for my sci-fi game. But this is meant to give you, I guess, a lot of sandboxiness. You can decide how you want to play, where you want to take your character, what you want to do, how a session of play goes. And it's very hand-holdy when it comes to how to play solo, which I think is great. And when it comes to figuring all of that out, it is packed full of tables for literally everything that you can roll on. So lots of things. So everything from what you find on a world to who you find on a world to baddies you can fight, all kinds of stuff. So it's all up in here, but this is the most involved one. And definitely is meant for multiple types of play, so might be a bit ambitious of me. And if I play this, when I play this, I will report back for sure. But I am mildly intimidated by it. It's a lot, but I'm excited. And then this one, which I have been looking at and considering for like a year now, and finally just pulled the trigger on. This is called Colossal. It is designed solo. And here's the premise. The premise of Colossal is that there's an entire world inside of a castle. And so they're like, it's like everything's been shrunk down into miniatures. And the idea, does it actually say on the back? Would that be helpful? Yes. Prepare to get lost in a world of your own imagination, steered by the rules within this book. This is a solo role-playing game, a game you can play by yourself. While your characters journal as they explore the strange lands of the Colossal, a castle so colossal that fields, valleys, mountains, and even oceans rest within its rooms. Discover 6 incredible character classes and a simple rule set. All you need to embark on this grand adventure is a pen, paper, and a deck of standard playing cards or tarot cards. Play it alone with the rules in this book or use the world of Colossal and the classes as the setting for your next multiplayer game. But although the rooms of the Colossal are inviting, beware the rooks, strange lumbering stone automatons that patrol and guard the world's mysteries. What will you discover as you venture deep into the Colossal? So the idea is, so it talks about how to play, it talks about the world. And again, you start by creating a character. And there are, I believe, sample characters you can just jump into. But there's card pulls. So what's your character's calling? And then you can draw a card to know what that is. What's your character's nature? You can draw a card. So you don't have to think of these things. You can random draw for them. But so here are the character classes. You have an armed class, and it tells you how that class works. You have one called the Followed, one called the Helmed, one called the Mounted, and the Allied. I think one of the things, and the Bastion, I think one of the things about this is that these like devices, I think there's something about when you fight the automatons, the rooks, you can maybe get things from them, like get little bits of gear from them and then start to enhance your character somehow. So red cards are organic, things, peoples, and creatures. Black cards are scenic, things, structures, and objects. There's the cities, city building prompts. You know what's in a city. Here's combat. Here's what I like. A lot of solo RPGs don't have combat, and I like combat. So I wanted one that included some fighting, some combat, and plus the art in this is so fun. There's, again, a built-in bookmark. So yeah, this is Colossal. This book is quite unwieldy. It's rather big. That's the only thing I don't like. I don't love how massive the book is, but it's also beautiful. So there's that. And like biomes of the Colossal, what do you find? Are you in the jungle or the plains or the rocklands? And again, there's card associations. And yeah, depending on what you find, this is a city called Parapet inside of the Colossal and the adventures you might have there. There's 2-player co-op play instructions here if you want to adventure with somebody. Amazing. So this part is the game. These are gameplay tools. So I'm guessing these are going to be tables and things like that. Yeah. And then you have some secrets, which I'm not going to look at. But yeah, y'all, I think that might be it for my solo RPG list. I do have a few that are not, where's my little booklet? Oh, here we go. I have a couple that I don't have in physical form. Let me just see what those were. The original Ironsworn, which I talked about. I have that. I also have some solo RPG games that use Dungeons & Dragons 5e as its basis. So you make a Dungeons & Dragons character and then you take them through these little adventures. I have some of those in digital. I also have a game called Xylite. That is a zombie fighting game. That was digital only. Is there anything else I have digital only? Oh, there's a game called Village Witch, which uses tarot, and a game called Bramble Trek, and a game called Be Like a Crow. Those are digital only. Oh, and the Lost Cartomancer, which is a solo RPG game where you do playing card divination. And I only have that in digital as well. So before we wrap up, I have one game to show you that I backed on Kickstarter that I'm just really excited about. It came with a massive, when I say massive, like this is me holding the entire rolled up thing, playmat. I can't roll this out right now. It will never fit on camera, but I can show you kind of the vibe. Like it is beautiful. It's beautiful. I have to play this actually on Peggy's sewing table because this game is too big, but I do want to show it to you. And this is the game called Storyfold Wildwoods. This is beautiful, and this is such a cool solo game. I backed this on Kickstarter. Oh my God, I'm so excited about this. I've not played it yet. It comes with punch-out pieces, but I did back it at a higher tier so that I could get fancier pieces. I'll show you that in a second. There's a rules guide, which I probably won't need because the game is here. So the premise of Storyfold, oh my gosh, look at, I also backed it to get, so I backed it to get the wooden pieces instead. It also came with these dice, which I'm going to take out of here actually, because I don't want them in here. It came with these dice, but I actually backed it at a tier that got me these upgraded beautiful resin dice. So those are the dice I'm going to be using with my game. There are decks of cards, Prologue, Chapter 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, and the most expertly designed tray to hold these in. There's also this, which lets you, I think, hold cards when they're in play. It says, do not open. This deck contains 5 challenge cards, which increase the difficulty of Storyfold. We recommend waiting until you've completed the game once to add these cards to the game. But like this little tray has a cover that snaps into place. And oh my gosh, if you are the type of person that likes to have compartments for game components like this just makes my heart really happy. So this though, this is the main part of the game here. Obviously we have cards and things, but this walks you through the game and how Storyfold works. And this is why I was excited to back this on Kickstarter, because I thought this was such a cool concept for a game. You open it this way and it says many moons ago. And then it opens this way and it says in a world of light and shadow. And then it opens this way. There was a girl named Luna. And so as you open it, it creates a play mat that you play on. So you don't need that like neoprene one that came with my deluxe set, but that's obviously beautiful. So I don't know what any of this stuff does yet. And here's the cool part. I don't need to know because the game's going to walk me through it. So I flip the first page and I read this and then I follow this. Welcome to Storyfold Wildwoods. When you're ready, find the deck of cards that says Prologue on the front. Read Prologue card 1 to begin your journey, and then you flip. And it's going to walk you through the game the whole way through. So I would say this is a story game and a component game, almost like a solo board game, maybe more than a solo role-playing game. I'm not entirely sure yet, but it is beautiful. I love that it's going to tell me a story. I am so excited to actually pull this out and play this. I haven't had a chance to do it yet. I love all the cards and stuff. Oh, and there was a goodie pack. Let me just open this up because I haven't done that yet. I think this includes some art from the game. Let's just see. Oh, okay. So it looks like there's some extra cards. I don't know what I do with those yet. There is a sticker. These are some gorgeous, or a gorgeous print. Look at that. I'm pretty sure this is the same art on the back of my playmat, by the way. It looks like she has like a ghost bear, like maybe familiar? I don't know. Because there's a bear here too. So I'm guessing that's part of the story. And in here, I think these are like condition cards. Or these are bookmarks? I don't 100% know. But I think these need to go in with my game. And so do these cards. So I'm gonna put these into my game component box. One more thing I wanted to show you. I picked up this deck a long time ago, not that long ago, maybe like last year sometime, called the Story Oracle. I was trying to use this as a regular Oracle deck, but I have actually put this with all of my solo role-playing game stuff because I thought this would be just super handy to have on hand if I needed to shake things up in my game, in any of the journaling games or whatever, but just to randomize something. Because here we have all these different prompts: mystery, trust, unfinished, choose your weapon, something hidden, dream, luck, lesson from the past, bittersweet, it's a trap, secret revealed, fear, unlikely ally, follow that car, victory. Like, these are creative writing prompts. It does function as an Oracle deck, and there are Oracle deck meanings in this, but I feel like this will be just really fun for any creative writing or solo journaling game type stuff that I'm doing. So I just wanted to quickly shout this out because I think it's going to be a handy tool. You can also use Oracle decks and dice and like add more randomizing, do bibliomancy, pull out a pendulum in the middle of a solo RPG. I think honestly, games like this just explore changing the rules, breaking the rules. All right, y'all, you know it's bad when I can barely fit. I mean, I managed to kind of fit everything on the screen, but there have been a lot of games I talked about and a lot of games I covered, several of which I've played with, all of which I've researched to some degree or another, and knew that I would probably like them enough to at least try. But with all of this on the table, hopefully I gave you an idea of the depth and breadth of solo games, specifically solo role-playing games, some journaling, some dungeony, some combat-y, some creative and drawing, some more about writing, some that like lean heavy on tarot, some that use playing cards. I mean, like the sky is the limit, and there are simpler games here and more complex games here. But the most incredible thing about this entire video and all the things I wanted to talk about is just that there is such a variety of worlds you can dive into. I am somebody that has always loved to read, has always loved to explore different worlds. It's one of the things I love about my tarot collection is each one takes me somewhere new. And the idea of being able to marry them together, tarot and story, or playing cards and stories, it's very exciting to me. You know, you have a game like Dwelling, and I imagine playing this with the Boo Tarot, like, you know, and just seeing what happens or getting inspiration from it. And some of these games don't specifically call for tarot in the rules, but you can pull tarot in for inspiration on what's going to happen next to your character, or where they're from, or what's motivating them in the moment, or what lesson they're learning that's difficult. You can get so creative, and so many of these games use tarot. In fact, I made a list of my solo role-playing games in my little journal here. And every single one here with a T has tarot. So Auspex has tarot. That's one. Let's see. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. There's like 10 to 12 minimum. Oh, 10. Like I don't even know if I tracked this properly. At least like half, I would say, maybe a third to half. I mean, my math is bad, y'all. Use tarot or playing cards, which you can just sub out tarot, as part of the major game mechanic. I mean, that's incredible. And I think it's because tarot is so archetypal that you can literally bring it into any system, sort of port it into any system. And so whether it's a game like Apothecaria, where you get to, like, this has got Three Trees Tarot decks all over it, right? Or a deck like, or like pulling in your favorite, like, spacey sci-fi themed tarot for small creatures such as we, or Auspex, which you can use with literally any tarot deck because it's like a game about reading tarot. There's like, the sky is the limit. And so regardless of what your interest is, if you think this is something that you might enjoy, hopefully I gave you, like I said, an idea of the range of what is out there. And there's so much more, obviously, that I haven't even shown. I tend to grab things that I feel like the world is really captivating, or it's going to take me on a really unique journey. I'm probably not going to get a whole lot of books that are as beefy as like Starforged, but I have got some like really quick short play games here and some longer play games here. And I have to say, I have been loving my experimentation with all of these and just really enjoying dipping my toes in, trying new things, experimenting. I love this stuff. I love this stuff. And so I just wanted to kind of like, I guess, dip my toe in and share some of the things that I've checked out. If any of these caught your eye, definitely encourage you to look for a game shop that supports. I'm in Canada, and I actually bought quite a few of these games from this company here, which is called Ratty Incantati. I will link their shop down below. They are Canadian based, so I was able to order from within Canada, which was really great. A lot of these I got directly from the game creators themselves by ordering them from their own websites or whatnot. And a few of these are on Amazon. Ironsworn, Starforged was on Amazon, as was Deify. But in general, hopefully you can see, like, there is just, like I said, such a wide variety. And again, if you're interested in Mystic Crossroads, which was the tarot sort of learning, like, do a reading style game, check that out. That is funding on Kickstarter right now. But in general, again, there's just a huge variety of stuff. So if you have questions, or if there's a specific game you'd like to learn even more about, or a game you think would be fun to maybe figure out a way to play together on the channel, I'd be happy to do that if I could figure it out. But definitely we will be exploring Auspex in my deck roulette series. I really want to do that. I think it's well suited to that series. I think it'll be fun, and it's not going to take too much time. We'll just be using this instead of me coming up with a fake querent and fake question. So I think that'll be really fun. We'll get to kind of see what happens there. But in general, like I said, I will be reporting back in my monthly deck reviews, like when I finish a game, to kind of report back how it was. But I wanted to do one sort of catch-all video where I talk about it all. So again, I know this was quite long. Thank you for hanging out. And if you play any of these solo games or have played any of the ones that I've shown, leave your feedback down below. What did you like? What didn't you like? What have you learned? Did you find out you love journaling, but you miss combat, or maybe you love combat and you hate journaling games? And like, have you found a sweet spot? Like, what's your solo style if you've played any of these? If you haven't played any of them, which one, I guess, caught your attention the most? I'd love to hear about that. But anyway, I'm going to wrap this up because I have games everywhere in front of me now, and I need to put them back on my bookshelf where they belong. But thank you again for hanging out with me. I would love to hear from you if you want to geek out with me, because nerds unite forever and ever. Thank you again so much. As always, extra big thanks goes out to my Unicorn Fam channel members for your support of the channel. I appreciate you all so much. And if you're watching, hype the video, like, comment, subscribe, do all the YouTubey things. Share this with a friend if you have anybody you know who's into solo games and they just want a quick little, like, introduction to all the different types that are out there. There are also some really great YouTube channels out there that are devoted to solo role-playing games. I will try to remember to link a couple of the ones I've been enjoying in the description box down below, as well as links to all of these games. Hopefully I can find links to all of these games, but I will put that together. I will throw this video up on the channel for you to enjoy. Thank you again so much, and I hope you're having the most incredible day. Until next time, may your magic always shine from the inside out. Bye!